you ever felt like your emotions have taken hold of you and you don't know what to do? Like any emotion that comes along, you're just being swept away? Well, today we're going to talk about a really unique technique that I've used to really help master my emotions, especially during this phase of perimenopause and menopause, because hormonal emotions are even crazier than regular emotions. So, by the way, I'm Dr. Lori Marbus. I'm a board certified family and lifestyle medicine physician and a menopause certified practitioner. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I'm so excited to have you as part of the community. And if you're looking for learning more about menopause and how to feel fabulous, join my free webinar below. There is a link in the description. It's Master Menopause and Feel Fabulous, where you learn the top 3 mistakes women make during menopause and my 5-step blueprint that I utilize with myself, including mastering emotions that come along with hormonal disruption, how to master menopause and feel fabulous. Again, all free, link below, check it out. So let's jump right in. So let's start with a little bit of a scenario. We call them clinical vignettes in medicine, but imagine you're sitting in a meeting, or maybe you're waiting for a loved one in a coffee shop when you either have a memory or maybe a passing comment suddenly stirs a surge of emotion, right? That kind of bubbling up of things that you're like, what's going on here? It could be a pang of anxiety, maybe it's a rush of anger or a kind of creeping wave of sadness, but it's literally out of nowhere, just kind of catching you off guard, and you can feel it settling in, kind of like a tightness in your chest, right? Maybe a quickening of your breath, and you're on the verge of reacting, maybe even suppressing it to just push through it, pushing it down. But what about if something different instead happened, right? So maybe you decide just for this moment to just kind of stay with it, right? You ground yourself by pressing your feet into the floor and take a deep breath, letting the feeling of the breath kind of anchor you. And then instead of running from the feeling or fighting the feeling, you decide to allow it to just kind of be there, right? Noticing where it lives in your body. And as you breathe into it, you feel the intensity start to kind of settle and then begin to fade, right? You're able to gently let it move through and without being swept up in it. This simple act is called grounding yourself and giving your space to the emotion, is what I call anchor and allow. Okay, so in that moment, by anchoring yourself in the present and allowing the emotion to flow, you access a powerful way to navigate life's challenges calm and with calm and clarity. The practice doesn't erase the feeling, but it does help you find kind of a steady place within yourself to face it, and rather than being kind of, again, swept away. So what is Anchor Allow? Well, it's a mindful practice. And you hear me talk about mindfulness all the time on this channel, because I feel it literally is the gateway to a much more beautiful life because you're more present. And it's the Anchor and Allow really allows you, or encourages you, I should say, to ground yourself during moments of emotional intensity and allowing those feelings to flow without resistance. Anchoring is the act of rooting yourself, again, in the present, tuning into your sensations in your body, and then finding stability amid the kind of the emotional waves that are occurring. Kind of think of, waves on a beach, how they come, they crest, and they will subside. That's kind of what you want to think about emotions as. And then allowing, in turn, kind of involves creating a non-judgmental space for emotions to arise and unfold naturally without clinging to them or pushing them away. So we got to think of that we're opening versus constricting, right? The constricting is like a little kid when you try to, and they're throwing a tantrum and you try to hold them and move them, they just get stronger. It was like, where did this superhuman come from in this 2-year-old body, right? So that's kind of the same thing you can think of emotions that cause unease. The approach, even though it's simple, is really impactful, and it combines, just again, like I said, the grounding techniques with mindful acceptance, enabling you to kind of navigate those symptoms or situations. And why should you practice it? Well, one, you're going to get enhanced what we call emotional resilience, right? So by rooting yourself, you develop the resilience to face uncomfortable emotions without feeling overwhelmed. Number 2 is reduced reactivity, allowing emotions to kind of unfold naturally can really help you reduce the impulsive reactions. Instead of reacting from a place of tension and defensiveness, you can respond with greater clarity and purpose. Number 3 is improved self-awareness, right? The practice nurtures a deeper connection to your inner experience. Recognizing your feelings without judgment builds a really healthy relationship with yourself. And then, just again, fostering greater self-understanding. And number 4 is mind-body harmony, right? So anchoring yourself physically with touch or breath, for example, calms your nervous system, creating a grounded sense of peace. And the harmony can improve your overall well-being, right? Helping you feel more balanced and present in everyday life. And not only do you benefit from this, but everybody around you benefits. So how do we practice this? Well, first of all, we want to, step 1 would be finding your anchor, right? To anchor yourself means, again, to find a steady focus point, like a physical sensation that helps you stay present. And here's a few ways to do this. My favorite way is grounding with breath, right? So take a few deep breaths, let them out. Notice the sensation of each inhale and exhale and feel the rhythm of your breathing, right? As a steady grounding presence. Next, you can find maybe a physical sensation. So focus on the feeling of your feet touching the ground or the surface beneath you. You can also place your hand on your chest or your abdomen as you feel yourself breathe, or focus in on your heart. You can feel your heart beating. That's really lovely. Another time you could do an external focus, right? So bring your attention to maybe an object nearby, like a piece of furniture or a spot on the wall, and allow its stability and stillness to kind of just remind you of your own. So there's a few different ways to approach the grounding piece. Step 2 is to allow emotions to arise. So once you're anchored, you want to shift your focus inward, right? Invite your emotions present to come forward. This step involves 1, naming the emotion. If possible, give the emotion a name, right? Anxiety or sadness. Acknowledging it can lessen its intensity and making it feel more manageable, and it separates you from the emotion. You need to understand that you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts, right? These are just things that trickle up. Like, so if I had a thought that came across that I'm a blue elephant, it's pretty obvious I'm not a blue elephant, but just because I said it, feel it, think it, doesn't mean that I am. And so that is something to understand, that all those thoughts, the chatter in your brain, the emotions that come up, you don't have to think that you are them. You are separate. You're the being observing them. And I know that sounds like an odd thing for you, but just think about it. Or just let it sit in your mind, or just kind of settle in. It would be the beginning of the mindfulness practice. But anyway, naming the emotion. I have some patients that I've worked with who actually give it a name like Bertha or Karen or Lulu or Jojo or anxious Annie or, worrying Wilma. I apologize. I don't mean to take your name if that's any of those your names, but sometimes bring a little bit of humor into that will also diffuse the emotion. And then again, I think the next step is witnessing without judgment, right? So notice any sensations associated with the emotion: tightness, warmth. Are you flushing? Restlessness. Approach the feeling with curiosity. That's a superpower. Your curiosity, as my friend Dr. Judd Brewer says, instead of labeling it as good or bad. And the next is kind of stay with the sensation, right? Allow that emotion to exist without the need to fix it or change it. Let it take up space if it needs, knowing it will naturally ebb and flow. And then step 3 is really return to the anchor as needed, right? So emotions can surge and settle as you practice. If the feeling becomes overwhelming, gently return to your anchor and a steady few breaths or that grounding sensation to just kind of recenter yourself. This anchor provides a safe place within yourself to revisit the emotions as they shift. And then putting it all together, basically remember, number 1 is anchor. Focus on something grounding in the present, like your breath or a physical sensation. 2, acknowledge, notice any emotions that arise, naming them if you can. 3 is allow. Let the emotions flow without judgment, letting them take the space that they need. And then over time, the practice becomes a really powerful tool for managing life's challenges with grace and resilience, and really helps you navigate through each experience anchored and open. And I'll share another story. There was a few months ago, I was walking my dog. I always do mindful walks in the morning. And this particular morning was unusual and odd. I felt unease, and I didn't feel, I wasn't able to find the gratitude that I typically have every morning. And I was just uneasy, and I just literally could not figure out what was going on. But I didn't fight it. I started observing it and understanding it. I tried all my deep breaths and I was calm, but I still had this uneasy feeling. And it was interesting. I had my Daisy with me, my dog, and we made it down, and we ran into two gentlemen, a younger man and an older gentleman. They were not together, but they were separate, but they kind of converged on us at once. And they started talking about Daisy and how happy she is. She's literally the happiest dog you'll ever meet. The tail never stops. She smiles, like she invites you to love her. Like I've never gone for a walk that people don't say, "Can I pet your dog?" She just is calling me to love on her. And I'm like, absolutely. This is Daisy's job in this world, is to bring love and joy. And my what was so cool about it was this reaction that these men had to Daisy. And we started talking, and as we were done, they said, "Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your day with Daisy." And that just lifted my spirits. And after that, I was like on cloud nine. It was the weirdest transition, but I think if we think about that moment, if I would have fought it, it would have grown, right? And maybe even made me angry or made me judge myself. I'm like, why are you doing this, Lori? Because trust me, our biggest critics live within us. And we are not the critic. We are not that person. Like, and just remember how valuable and worthy and precious you are. Each of us are, absolutely. So, and if you be kind to someone, that kindness factor is so important. So please, if anything, know that when you are doing this practice, you're not going to ruin someone else's day. Try to be understanding that we're responsible for our inner state and what we put out in the world, because what we put out, we get back tenfold. And so just wanted to give that little bit of a story to you, that even though you think everything should always go right, it doesn't always go right, and it's okay. This too shall pass. The good moments will pass and the bad moments will pass. I literally have a ring that says, well, my 3 rings, I say, it says breathe, be present. The other one says one with life. And the other one says this too shall pass, the good and the bad. This is just the way it is. So I enjoy it while I can, and I learn from the others. So hope that was helpful. A little bit different today. I just felt called to share that with you, and I hope it touches at least one person out there. Every once in a while, I just have these really strong urges to share that more emotional component of our lives together. So thank you again for being here. I so love all of you. Sending you gratitude, joy, peace, and healing. And yes, we all need more of that in our lives. And, go out and make your day better, and try to make someone else's day better too. So thanks, everyone. Appreciate you as always. Have a wonderful rest of your